Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the June 5th, 2012 meeting of the Downers Grove Village Council. It is my privilege to call this meeting to order. There are agendas on both sides of the room on the ledges. If you'd like to pick one up and follow along with our meeting tonight, there will be multiple opportunities for public comment, both with respect to items that are on the agenda tonight, as well as items that are not on the agenda tonight. And speaking of items that are not on the agenda tonight, I just want to announce right off the bat, go a little bit out of turn here, that the items related to the proposed Walgreens facility at 63rd and Woodward have been withdrawn by the petitioner. So they have not been postponed, they have been withdrawn. The petition is no longer pending before the village. So anyone that had any comments about that topic, it will not be on our agenda tonight in any way, shape, or form. And I believe that for those keeping score at home, those would be active agenda items 7B, D, and E.
B, C, D, and E. All petitions related to anything at this property or Walgreens, the annexation, the rezoning, the plat of subdivision and special use, all items have been withdrawn and will not be considered tonight.
My agenda didn't have a C on it, that's why I asked, but it's the four items that had been pending and that have been discussed on multiple occasions. Those have been withdrawn by the petitioner. There will be no consideration, there will be no vote. There's no active petition pending before the village at this time related to that proposed project. So that being said, we customarily begin our meetings by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. So I would ask that everyone please rise at this juncture and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to ask our fine village clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Rankin?
Here.
Commissioner Barnett?
Here.
Commissioner Neustadt?
Here.
Commissioner Durkins?
Here.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Here.
Commissioner Schnell?
Here.
Mayor Tully?
Here. Thank you very much. That brings us to our weekly admonition about turning off cell phones and pagers. Actually, it brings us to item 3 on our village council agenda, which is the approval of minutes from prior meetings. We have one set of minutes on the agenda for approval tonight, and those are the minutes from our May 15th regular council meeting, May 15th, 2012, that is. Are there any questions or comments, changes or corrections from any members of the council with respect to those minutes? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve them as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? Those minutes will be approved. That brings us to item 4 tonight, which is the segment of our meeting where we entertain public comment, and we do have a guest I would like to introduce first and put at the front of the line, as I know there will be other people who would like to speak on items not appearing on tonight's agenda. So this is the segment of the meeting where we entertain comments, questions from members of the audience with respect to matters of a general nature, items not appearing on the agenda tonight. That would now include all the matters with respect to the proposed Walgreens, which is not on the agenda, has been removed for those who came in late, and will not be considered. There's no active petition pending with respect to that proposal. In short, there is no proposal right now. It's my pleasure to introduce our newest county board member from District 2, Michael Ladon, who's been serving on District 2 of the DuPage County Board for it seems like quite a while now, although...
Seems like quite a while, sure.
Recently taken that position, and of course,
End of February.
District 2 represents a good portion of the northern part of Downers Grove, so we're glad to see you here tonight and introduce yourself to the community and to the council. A number of your constituents are no doubt watching at home, so thank you for being here tonight. If you have a couple of words you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear from you.
I do, and good evening, Mayor Tully and commissioners and citizens of Downers Grove. Thank you so very much for having me here tonight. Again, as Mayor Tully had mentioned, my name is Michael Ladon, and at the end of February, I was appointed to be your new representative for District 2 on the DuPage County Board. Again, thank you for having me here at your meeting this evening. I truly feel honored to have been selected to serve all of you, and it is my duty, and I will do my utmost to bring the benefits of DuPage County to both the elected body of Downers Grove and also to you as citizens of Downers Grove. And although my tenure on the county board will be relatively short, I wish to make myself available to this elected body and to all of you as citizens of Downers Grove as a resource for county government. I'm fortunate to serve on a number of committees at the county, development, finance, stormwater with your mayor, Mr. Tully, to name a few. It is my goal to make sure that all of you citizens have access to me and have access to all the services of DuPage County. So again, I'm very, very honored and thankful to be here tonight. I wish to, again, if any of you need anything on the county level, please feel free to call on me. Already, Jeff, you've already requested something, so we're going to get to work on that. And again, as citizens of Downers Grove, if you need resources from the county, please feel free to call on me as well. Thank you so much for having me here tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ladon. And what's the best way to reach you?
The best way is actually via email. I get all of my county emails on my electronic device that I keep with me pretty much at 24 hours a day. And you can find all of my contact information on the DuPage County website under County Board, but it's michael.ladon@dupageco.org. That's my email address. So feel free to call me at home. My number is listed as well on the website. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
If I know the engaged residents of Downers Grove, you may have some messages waiting for you by the time you get home.
that's fine. Bring them out.
And I also know that Mr. Ladon will work diligently with his colleagues in District 3, which represents the other part of Downers Grove on the DuPage County Board. And so even if you're in District 3 and not in District 2, you can still feel free to contact Mr. Ladon. I'm sure that he'll work with his colleagues on the DuPage County Board to respond to whatever the issue might be. At this point, I want to interrupt the meeting with a very important proclamation, which I forgot to mention. So bear with me one moment. I do have a proclamation to read tonight. Whereas the Garden Club of Downers Grove is celebrating its 85th anniversary, and whereas the Garden Club of Downers Grove was founded on February 28, 1927, and Mrs. M.L. Puffer was elected president, and Mrs. Lyman was elected Wildflower and Conservation Chairman. Now, those are two names that ought to ring well here in Downers Grove. Whereas the objectives of the club remain the same today as in 1927, that is the advancement of gardening, development of home grounds, and furthering village beautification to stimulate an interest in cooperative gardening and to aid in the protection of forest, wildflowers, and birds. And whereas over these years the Garden Club has planted flowers, bulbs, trees, and bushes at nearly every park and school in the village, as well as at the library, the Main Street Cemetery, and the Maple Grove Forest Preserve. And whereas the Garden Club of Downers Grove is a charter member of the Garden Clubs of Illinois and the National Garden Clubs, and whereas scholarship awards are given each year to horticulture students at the University of Illinois, now therefore I, Martin T. Tully, Mayor of the Village of Downers Grove, do hereby proclaim the week of June 5th through 12th, 2012 as National Garden Week in the Village of Downers Grove, and congratulate the Garden Club of Downers Grove on their past 85 years of accomplishment and wish them much continued success. And we don't have the opportunity to have any members of the Garden Club here tonight. I don't know if we do or not, but we'll give this to all passionate gardeners within our community. Thank you for that interruption. Now, we'll return to our regularly scheduled program. Item 4 on our agenda. Comments of a general nature, items not appearing on our agenda. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Tom LeCren, 545 Chicago Avenue. I just have a couple of nitpicking things that kind of stick in my craw when we don't get our paperwork correct. But to show you that I'm a non-discriminatory nitpicker, I'll start with the letter from the attorney for Walgreens and call your attention to the reference which said proposed Walgreens store SWC 63rd and Woodward. He couldn't even get the right corner. And in the documentation for that particular, which is not going to be brought up tonight, there's a couple of typos that, or omissions that bug me, since these are official documents and should be corrected before they go into the archives. I call your attention to the council action summary for that particular project. And it says under summary of item, adoption of attached ordinance will authorize a special to permit. A special what? And under the criteria for the special use permit, item 14, it says the building shall be fully sprinkled. Sprinkled with what? You want somebody sprinkled with holy water or what? That's a couple of typos. I hope they'll be cleared up before the documents go into the archive. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Dee Gordon. I live at 6237 Pershing Avenue, and we are very pleased that Walgreens has withdrawn their application, although we don't know the reason. We hope that part of it had to do with being responsive to a community effort that included a petition of more than 1,000 signatures. We, the residents, have attended meetings for 6 months. We've provided informed comment on specific elements of the project, like traffic issues, safety issues, and ordinance zoning violation concerns. This project has opened our eyes to the importance of being civically engaged. While our neighborhood would have been most directly impacted, we learned that the process by which Downers Grove engages residents in economic development issues is a much larger issue and needs to be improved. We were coming tonight to ask the board to direct staff to meet with us because Thursday's meeting was unsatisfactory. We need a meeting to develop best practices for the village dealing with the community groups around development issues. The comprehensive plan clearly shows an interest by the village to annex properties. At Thursday's meeting, we heard a lot of staff recommendations, but there was no meaningful dialogue. We would like to lay the groundwork, not just for our next time, but for any development that comes before the board with respect to how to engage the community. Does the Downers Grove have any further communication with the developer? Do we have any information to convey to us? Is the developer coming back with another proposal?
I don't know if we have that information at this point in time. These are all obviously recent developments. I don't know if Mr. Fieldman can comment further.
We only have a letter that says they withdrew all petitions.
Okay.
That's, you know what we know at this juncture.
Well, then we would like in the next 2 months to hear back from staff, and we would like to have a meeting in regards to moving forward. We need an improvement in this process.
Well, that's actually a very good question, and by the way, I thought that the level of engagement by the neighborhood was extraordinary, and I appreciated that spokespersons were utilized to focus the communications and sit down and meet with both staff and members of the council. That's always greatly appreciated, so I wanted to compliment you on that, and thank you for doing it. But I do have to mention one thing, of course, is that for those of you who are not currently in the village of Downers Grove, we would love for you to actually come into the village so you can have a better voice in this process, because you're right, there should be a process, but we'd really like you to be residents in order to truly engage in that process. So let me put it this way. You're extending a request to us to engage better with you. I extend that same request to those who are not currently in the village who may want to have a stronger and better voice in the future with respect to issues like that, because there is that disjuncture right now. Having a voice in a community that you're not part of is, obviously, there's a missing link there.
We are part of, and this project did not solely impact unincorporated. This project
Understood.
was a major intersection that affected 30,000, 40,000 vehicles. It wasn't just us.
Not arguing with you, Ms. Gordon. I was simply responding to your outreached hand.
All
with my
right, so
outreached
I
hand.
would appreciate in the next couple months a meet. That would be great.
We can look into what might be appropriate, and like I said, if we don't have any other information, there won't be anything to share.
Well, there are other developments that are going on, not just in our area, but in Downers Grove, and there needs to be a change in how things are being, how it's the process. We need to increase our zone notification from 250 feet to 1,200 feet. It affects a lot more people than 250 feet. We need to have a meaningful discussion before it gets to Planning Commission, if it's going into your neighborhood or going into your area. We have some things that need to happen, not just for our small neck of the woods. We need to have the process improved.
I would respond by saying that I think if you compare us to a lot of communities, Downers Grove consistently is above and beyond what you would find in other situations, which is, again, my invitation to actually participate in a more stakeholder way in Downers Grove by becoming part of Downers Grove. But I won't beat that drum. What I will say is that obviously anytime we have an experience where we're dealing with any economic development project or any neighborhood development project, there are always things that we can learn and look to try to improve the process.
And that's what we want.
So we will take that into account, and we appreciate the things that you've brought
Thank
to
you,
our
because we
attention.
did find it lacking, and we're reaching out a hand saying, what can we do together to make this a better process?
Fair enough, and thank you for making that invitation, and we'll look forward to doing what we can.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I add to that real quick?
By all means,
I
Commissioner.
just want to make sure that everybody watching at home realizes if this is the first time you're tuning in, we have engaged these residents. They've engaged us through many means, phone calls, emails. We had an entire coffee with the council a couple of months ago. Many of us had individual meetings right here at Village Hall with these folks. I think that the process is that the residents reached out to the elected officials in the village entertaining the petition. These folks living in the unincorporated area did come to us. They asked us for assistance. We listened. We listened many, many, many times right here in these chambers and throughout the village. I don't want anyone at home or anyone here tonight to think that none of us paid attention or took those conversations to heart. We did. Your comment about the process is very important, and I understand it, and I will take it as Mayor did and say, listen, we can look at our staff, but we have to remember something. Unfortunately, there's a very specific line here. Our line is the Village of Downers Grove boundary. We followed through with residents, with neighbors. We had lots and lots of discussions with you guys, and I think that we were always respectful in our conversations with you. I think our process is pretty, as the mayor said, it's pretty important. We follow it all the time. We have public hearings, plan commission, there are notices, there's big signs. I just don't want anybody paying attention or watching tonight to think that we didn't follow through in any way. I know all of us, all 7 of us, and our staff held extra meetings to go through this very, very specific petition. There was lots of contact.
What we were saying is that it was the timing. There was a lot of dialogue going on between developer and the village and the county before it ever came to those that would most be impacted by it. That's more what we're directing, is the timing of the process. And, you know, there is what is legal and there is what is right. And I think that we need to change where we're engaged. Thank you.
Thank you for being here again. Other questions and comments? Good evening, sir.
David Olson, 5601 Dunham Road, Downers Grove, incorporated in the Village of Downers Grove. Just wanted to comment and thank the council for all the time they spent on the Walgreens issue. You know, obviously there's always, in a situation which is contentious like this one was, where there's multiple sides, there's always improvements and lessons learned that we can take from it. But I know this council was extremely open to everyone who had an opinion. And we spent 4 hours at the last council meeting. The last council, 4 hours long, maybe about 3 hours on Walgreens. So, I mean, that shows a level of engagement. I have friends at work who live in the city of Chicago, just had a big development was proposed in the city of Chicago where they live, alter the character of their neighborhood, and their alderman had taken campaign contributions from the developer, gave them a 1-hour public hearing, and then said he would support it, and that's it. That's the end of the story. And I really appreciate that we have a better process than that here in Downers Grove, that we have a process to listen to residents, to talk with the community, and to engage. And I just want to say that I appreciate that, and thank the mayor, thank the commissioners and the staff. I know there's a lot of hard work on this proposal, and I clearly had you know, my own opinion was not in favor of it, and I'm very glad to see it withdrawn. But I appreciate the process and thank the village for it.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Other questions or comments of a general nature with respect to items not appearing on tonight's agenda? Other questions or comments of a general nature? All right, hearing none, we'll then move to item 5, public hearings. We have no public hearings tonight, so we'll move right along to item 6, our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to any of the items that are on tonight's consent agenda? Hearing none, any questions or comments from any members of the village council with respect to any items on tonight's consent agenda? Commissioner Waldeck.
Thank you, Mayor. Regarding motion 00044914, which is a contract with Christopher Burke, just an observation I'd like to share with everyone. Over the last several years, we've talked about a number of times, we've changed our contracts. We've added 2 documents to the process. One we frequently mention is the report card, when we evaluate previous performances of a contractor, and it helps us evaluate whether or not we should continue that relationship with the contractor. But this case, we have another form, which is called the campaign disclosure form. And the purpose of that form is to indicate any financial contributions made to a member of the village council. And on this particular petition, I have to compliment the contractor for the in-depth information they provided. They had indicated a contribution to somebody who's no longer on council, but they also indicated as well a number of activities and events and things that they have contributed for in the community, and I think they kind of found a new use for our campaign disclosure form, which is almost like an advertisement saying all the good things that they've done for the community. So I'd like to thank them for all the good things they've done for our community. Not that that has a bearing on this particular contract, but I do thank them, and I just thought I'd bring it to everybody's attention that a new use for our campaign disclosure form. And I don't know if that brings any concerns to anybody. We can always talk about that another time. But I will support this, and I just thought I'd bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or comments from members of the council with respect to the consent agenda? Hearing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Newstead?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye, consent agenda passes unanimously. That brings us to item 7 on our agenda tonight, which is our active agenda. And question to the village attorney, do we need a motion to modify the active agenda, or we can skip items B through?
You can just skip them all.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we will only be taking up items A and then skipping to F and proceeding from there. So do I have a motion to pre-qualify suppliers and authorize the village manager to enter into a contract with an electrical supplier subject to certain parameters regarding electrical aggregation? Here's some good news.
Mayor Tully, I move to pre-qualify certain licensed and certified alternative retail electric suppliers and to authorize the village manager to enter into a 24-month term master power supply agreement with the lowest qualified proposer for electricity supply offset 100% by renewable energy certificates.
Second.
Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to this item? Any questions or comments from any members of the village council with respect to this item? Commissioner Newstead.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to note that the 100% residential credits, what are we calling those, RECs? The savings that we have estimated here will be an annual savings of about $354 to the incorporated residents of the village of Downers Grove. I think it's very important to note that this is a savings that everybody passed a referendum on in the village. It was put out to the residents. It was discussed at this forum many, many times, and we were able to save our residents a lot of money. In the last couple of months, we have created some other utilities and fees in our village, and I think this is a great comparison to say we've created a fee, we're saving residents money. I think we're really working towards trying to find the best fiscal opportunities for all of our residents in Downers Grove. This is a great example of a lot of hard work by not only our staff, but the Environmental Concerns Commission, our consultant. A special thank you to Allison for all her hard work, and all the departments that put into this great recommendation. Thank you, Mayor.
Well said, Commissioner. Other questions or comments, Commissioner Schnell?
Just a comment, again, I think we need to compliment staff. Our daughter lives in a town north of here, and their rates for the 24-month period are considerably higher than the rates that were being proposed in our proposal. So I want to compliment staff for the hard work that they've done. Not that the other town didn't do a lot of hard work, but they did segregate it differently than we're doing it, and I think the way staff put it together obviously helped in us getting rates that are very favorable to our residents. So again, between $350 and $400 a year savings is nothing to sneeze at. So I think staff did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Mayor. Certainly second my colleagues' comments on this, but I wanted to highlight a couple of other things too. In particular, this is another example of your village government and your village staff reaching out to other communities. This is a kind of a partnership co-op situation with another neighboring community, and we're looking for those opportunities all the time. Mr. Ladon is here, and he'll, I'm sure, no doubt, second the idea that all of your levels of government in Illinois need to find ways to work together, and this is another example of us doing that. In addition, I wanted to highlight and just specifically thank a couple of residents. Rich Spilkey is a resident of Downers Grove. He sort of first brought this subject to us about a year ago and kind of got us all thinking about it. So before you think you're council and staff are a bunch of geniuses. It was brought by a resident. And then we really got some traction and got rolling when we first started talking with Will County Governmental League, which we've not done, ended up working with long-term. But Dan Loftus, another resident, local resident, sort of brought that organization to us and made us aware of some of the things they were working on, and that really kind of jump-started the whole thing. So it's a good thing for our residents, no doubt, and it's a thing that we should all be proud of as a community for trying to find ways to work with other communities to save money. But in particular, beyond those that have already been thanked, Rich Spilkey and Dan Loftus should be acknowledged as well.
Duly noted. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or comments from?
I forgot to add the Village of Westmont also for their partnership. It's kind of been noted here, but partnering with the Village of Westmont has also allowed us to get a bigger bulk buying power. And from what I understand, they're passing a very similar set of recommendations as well in their
That's correct.
village chambers as well. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members of the council? I'll just add that this is actually a great opportunity for residents to save money, because let's remember, you don't need to participate in this program if you don't want to. You still have the ability to opt out, although at these prices, you'd be crazy not to. I sound like a used car salesman. I won't repeat what my colleagues have said, but I will point out that I will add that I thought staff not only did a terrific job on this, but under a very tight deadline, because when we finally decided to move forward on this, there wasn't a lot of time to get everything put together in advance of the referendum, get the referendum passed, get the public information out, get the bids out, get the responses, and having done all that on the time frame that was provided, I thought was truly exceptional, and you're all to be commended for that in particular. And I think the fact that the education program was so successful was shown in the results of the referendum, and I'm glad to see that we can deliver on point number 2, which is the request of a number of residents that came to us saying, as long as you're doing this, because you indicated in the referendum that it would be an important element, can you please do whatever you can to go 100% renewable energy with respect to whatever program you participate in. And we were all very thrilled to see that the prices came back such that it was a very easy decision to not only save a lot of money, but also do so in a way that hopefully helps save the world, at least a little bit, through the use of renewable energy. So this is terrific and a real win-win, and another advantage of being a resident of Downers Grove. But I'll get off my soapbox. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that just something, when can our residents start seeing the savings?
There will be a couple things left in the process. The next thing is we actually have to enter into the contract with the lowest final pricing in the next week or so. Then, following that, later in June and July, will be the opt-out period. So that's a 3-week period. So I just want to double-check with Allison, looking for a head nod, that it's late June through July is when we'll see.
I'm seeing a head nod.
Yes, that is correct. So late June through July.
So the rumors aren't true? You really don't have eyes in the back of your
I
head?
do not.
So August would be the first bill that residents would see the savings?
We believe so. We will
She's nodding no.
we will get a lot of information out on the website once we execute a contract.
Okay, great, thank you.
Terrific. Commissioner Durkin?
Yeah, thank you. In regards to the savings that we're going to get through this program, can you also inquire and see if that 2% savings that's been in the newspaper and on the news last night regarding the decrease in fees by Commonwealth Edison for some policy that's out there or something that went through
We will.
by somebody is going to actually be on top of this as well through I think it goes through December?
Yes, we will look into that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further comments, roll call, please.
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Newstead?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye, matter passes unanimously. That brings us to item 7F on our active agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt a resolution establishing a policy regarding temporary uses that require village services or property?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to this item? Any questions or comments from any members of the village council? Commissioner Waldeck?
Thank you, Mayor. My comments will relate to this item and the next item as well. I do want to thank staff for the work that they put in improving our events policy. While there are some who may not be in favor of the First Amendment or free speech, I would rather prefer a government or government entities who allow all troops to parade or assemble or exercise free speech than have a government that picks and chooses who can parade and what they can say. So while the event policy has been clarified and expanded, I still believe that the policy still needs to be tweaked we still separate for-profit businesses or separate from not-for-profit businesses and make those distinctions whether they remain wholly inside the policy itself or we carve out special agreements. For example, one example, the Saturday Downtown Market does as much for our downtown business as some of the other events that we don't charge for. My personal preference would be to have the whole policy re-reviewed by the Events Committee. The policy was originally developed by the committee with directions to develop a chargeback system, and I would like to see a review without such direction, including an economic impact, not just on the village budget, but on the effects of the community as a whole. So while I support the changes clarifying the First Amendment, I still feel the policy falls short, and I won't be supporting the revised policy, even though it is improved. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments? I'll just make two observations. One, I'm not aware of any group or person who has been restricted from gathering or parading or speaking. I just want to make that very clear. Not to my attention, that situation has not arisen. Second of all, I have long said, back when I was a commissioner on this council, that there was probably a wisdom behind looking at events and activities that the village runs, the village sponsors, and the village facilitates, and what each of those things mean. And there was an effort to try to nail that down. Commissioner Neustadt and Commissioner Rankin both know from prior tours of duty on the Community Events Commission, and it sort of languished. So I think at some point in time that would be appropriate, but I don't think that what we're doing right now is necessarily inappropriate, or I just think that there could be better definitions going forward given the current state of affairs. When the process was first begun, we had a different world that we were dealing with, things that included a national pro criterium bike race, which no longer exists. The village had greater involvement in things like the Ice Festival, and there was also a summer festival that the village actually ran. That doesn't happen anymore. It happens in a different way. So maybe with the current state of affairs, that could be revisited. I don't disagree that that is appropriate. I just think that we have to be mindful of priorities and other things that are on the to-do list, or what we sometimes call the 12 labors of Hercules that we have asked our staff to actually get done this year. But I will be supporting this because, as was noted, it is an improvement. If there are no further questions or comments, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Neustadt?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Yay.
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. Matter passes 6-1. That brings us to item 7G as in Gus. Do I have a motion to adopt an ordinance amending temporary use in public gatherings?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to this item? Any questions or comments from any members of the village council? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Neustadt?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Nay.
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. Matter passes 6-1. That brings us to item 7H as in Henry. Do I have a motion to adopt an ordinance amending village parking lot designations as presented?
Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance amending village parking lot designations as presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments on this item from any members of the audience? Any questions or comments from any members of the village council? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Neustadt?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye. Commissioner
Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. The matter passes unanimously. That brings us to item 7I. Do I have a motion to adopt an ordinance to amend parking provisions on Powell and Norfolk Streets in the village of Downers Grove?
Mayor Tully, I move to adopt an ordinance amending parking provisions on Powell and Norfolk Streets as presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to this item? Any questions or comments from any members of the village council? Commissioner Neustadt.
Just quickly, a brief recap from our last meeting. This was right outside of Kingsley School, and the administration at Kingsley School is very happy that this change has taken place. Parking from Downers Grove South High students really got in the way of their daily pickup and drop-off operations outside of Kingsley. It was kind of a weird stretch of a block that didn't have any parking restrictions until the students found out that they could do that, so we've now put some restrictions in place to help safety and traffic around Kingsley School. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from members of the council? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Newstead?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye, that matter passes unanimously. It brings us to the last item on our active agenda tonight, item 7J. Do I have a motion to adopt an ordinance amending holiday parking provisions as presented?
Mayor Tully, I motion to adopt an ordinance amending parking provisions as presented.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments on this item from any members of the audience?
Mayor, I don't believe the commissioner read the right motion. He did not include the word holiday.
Well, it's necessary. Motion to adopt an ordinance amending holiday parking provisions as presented.
Just for good measure,
Thank you.
somebody want to second that?
Second.
All right.
Second holiday.
There we go. Just make sure, Mr. LaCran, we are watching the small things. Any questions or comments from any members of the audience on this item? Any questions or comments from any members of the village council? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Newstead?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye, that matter passes unanimously. That brings us to the end of our active agenda and takes us to item 8, which is our first reading agenda, or what we call our workshop agenda, where items are presented for discussion purposes only, for potential action at a later point in time. We have 2 items under the first reading part of our agenda tonight, and it's customary to turn over this portion of the meeting to our village manager for presentation of the items. Mr. Fieldman.
They are both bid awards related to sidewalk replacement and rehabilitation, and our Public Works Director, Nan Newland, has background information on both of these items.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. These are 2 contracts that make up our sidewalk maintenance program for the year 2012, and they provide for the replacement and the rehabilitation of sidewalks within the village that have a grade separation or that have significant cracking, which leads to trip hazards. This year's replacement program, which is one of the 2 contracts, includes about 20,000 square feet of sidewalk replacement, curb replacement, and replacement of some of the curb ramps to make them ADA compliant throughout the village. That's the first contract, which was the low bidder was Mondi Construction, Inc. of Roselle, Illinois. The amount of the contract is $130,522.50. They were one of 2 bids that we received. They have satisfactorily completed work for the villages of Streamwood and the city of Evanston, and we did receive positive references for them. The second contract that comprises this program is the sidewalk rehabilitation program. That involves saw cutting of trip hazards, basically saw cutting the edges off on those trip hazards with a special concrete saw. Instead of about $150 for removing and replacing a segment of sidewalk, this only costs about $50, which allows us to address many more locations throughout the village and reduce more trip hazards. This work is ADA compliant, it's cost effective and clean, and allows us, as I said, to address more locations. This year we're looking to take care of about 900 of these locations throughout the village. We did receive 1 bid for this portion of the contract from Safe Step LLC in the amount of $48,300. They are the company that did the work for us last year, and they did a very good job for us, and we do recommend that this portion of the program be awarded to this company. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much for the presentation. We'll take these 2 items together, 8A and B, since they're related bids pertaining to sidewalk projects. Are there any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to either one of these bid items? Any questions or comments from members of the village council? Commissioner Barnett, he has hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. You gotta be quick. I just was curious on the rehabilitation, is that process or tooling or something proprietary? Why did we end up with 1 bidder? Any thoughts on that?
This is a company that specializes in this. They have a special piece of equipment they use, and I think it's relatively new, and not a lot of people have jumped into the market. I think over time other people will do it. There's nothing proprietary about it. I think it's just that there haven't been more companies following into this business.
This is where we see where it's like they cut the corners off, kind of
Kind of shaved.
They're grinding them down. They're actually cutting them? Okay, great. Thanks.
Commissioner Schnell?
Actually, this is for Commissioner Durkin and me. What's the timing on this as far as, I know you talked about the fact that we're going to try to get this done before school started.
Yes, we will be getting started within the next couple of weeks, going throughout the village in a systematic way and getting these locations. This work moves relatively quickly.
Okay. And then the new sidewalk will be done, not the replacement, but the new sidewalk will be done before school starts too.
We talked about this a couple of weeks
I know.
ago. There's a portion of it where there's a significant portion that's in an industrial park. So if, for any reason it gets delayed, we will prioritize it so we're working in neighborhoods. If there's any portion that's not completed before school, we will focus that in the areas that aren't in residential areas if we need
I think
to.
it's just good for people to hear it over and over again.
Our goal is to
parents.
have it done before school.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions or comments from members of the council?
That's it for the first reading tonight, Mayor.
That brings our first reading to an end. Thank you very much. That brings us to item 9 on our agenda tonight, which is the mayor's report. And the one item I have is the continuing update as to where we stand in working with Commonwealth Edison to try to enhance and improve the reliability of electrical service within the village. This is not electrical aggregation. This actually has to do with the transmission of electricity over the physical infrastructure, which all came to our attention in a very harsh way during the storms of last summer. Hopefully, we won't have that again this year, but we nevertheless continue to work with ComEd and update the community in terms of our efforts to improve and enhance the reliability of service, because even though you might be paying less money for your electrical service through electrical aggregation, the distributor of the electricity is actually still over ComEd wires. The update as of June 5th, 2012, is that 4 overhead cable projects that are currently underway in the village are scheduled to be completed by the end of June. When these projects are finished, they will mark completion of the equipment upgrades that were promised by ComEd representatives at the September 2011 Town Hall meeting that the village coordinated and held over at the Recreation Center on Belmont. That meeting was focused on hearing resident concerns and trying to address reliability issues. In total, ComEd has performed an enhanced tree trimming that is intended to reduce the likelihood of tree and storm-related outages in 11 circuits within Downers Grove. ComEd has completed or is in the process of completing equipment upgrades in 5 circuits. And I also just wanted to point out that ComEd has rolled out 2 new interactive services that customers can utilize through the internet. One is there is an interactive map where you can go online and see where outages are taking place and zoom in on them and get information in terms of the nature of the outage and when the restoration is expected to be restored. Although one resident responded to me that that's very interesting, but it's not very good if your power is out and your cable modem isn't working and you can't get on the internet. Fair point, but at least you can get out and see that your neighbors are suffering in some other area. But seriously, it is at least an opportunity to check on friends and family who may not be in the same vicinity to see what their situation is. The other, and I think you just go to comed.com/map and you can see the interactive map. Also, there is a new text outage alert system where you can text ComEd. I think what you actually do is text the word out, O-U-T, to 26633, which is ComEd, to report an outage, and then you will receive updates on when your power is returned via text message if you don't have some other means. And I think that if you visit comed.com/text, you can get more information there and sign up. So I'm just simply, don't shoot the messenger, I'm just simply conveying this information to everyone for those who might be interested. Obviously, we're still working with ComEd to continue the efforts that we've undertaken. I think a lot of progress has been made, but there's certainly more that can be done. That's all I have for the mayor's report. That brings us to item 10, manager's report.
No report tonight, Mayor.
No report. That brings us to the village, the village attorney report.
No report, Mayor.
Very good. Item 12, council member reports and new business. Commissioner Barnett?
Mayor, just wanted to follow up. Some time ago, I was asking, and I'd like to ask again, or at least remind folks to try and put it on their list. That's code for you. The ComEd updates remind me each month that I'd like to see us have another round of town hall meeting and circle back around with those folks. And so I'd like to remind you to, if I can do anything to help or staff can do anything to help, let's try and put that together and make it sort of an event that they're expecting and not so reactionary.
Fair point, and we have actually proposed and have been talking to them about doing that very thing, and this time having a greater presence from our commercial customers within Downers Grove, because the Chamber of Commerce in particular has expressed a healthy level of frustration, shall we say, on behalf of their constituents in terms of reliability service. So that is something that we have not forgotten about, and we'll get that scheduled. I do hope that we can do it, as Commissioner Barnett points out, not after there's been some big storm and everyone's in a panic and we can't get a hold of anyone to comment, but perhaps do it when we have a more pleasant ambient environment like the one we have tonight. But thank you for keeping us on track. Commissioner Durkin.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I have actually a couple items. I don't know if you want me to go now or if you want me to go
Oh, do you want
last.
to come back?
That's fine.
Sure, that's a fair point. Then let's go to, I'm going to jump around. We'll go to Commissioner Newstead.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to congratulate Dan Cermak, the Downers Grove Park District Administrator, for his 34 years of service to the Downers Grove Park District. Dan retired last week, and there was a nice reception for him at the golf course. We wish him the best of luck in the next chapters of his life. Tonight, I had the pleasure to meet with Boy Scout Zach Mellon and his parents. Zach is actually still here in the audience. Zach, you had a great question about what happens when you consolidate two lots and there's two houses on them. You can only have one house on one lot. So once you consolidate them, you do have to get rid of one of the houses. I think I got that one right. So thank you for coming in tonight. It was nice to talk with you guys. And then last for me, tomorrow I think is the official last day of school. So everybody needs to pay a little bit more attention in their neighborhoods, slow down a little bit. Kids are going to be playing in the front yards, backyards, side yards, and everywhere. So please pay attention to school kids not around schools, but around their neighborhoods. That's all I have tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rankin.
Thank you, Mayor. Jeff Newstadt, Commissioner Newstadt, and I attended Bill McAdams' welcome reception. He's the new director of the Park District. I knew him when I worked in Parks and Recreation. He's a really good guy. I think he's going to be a great asset to our town. So it was nice to welcome him. I also wanted to announce, if you haven't seen it yet, the July 4th parade route is going to be reversed. So this year it's going to start at Main Street and Grant Street on the north side of town and proceed south and stop before the tracks. And the last announcement is Downers Grove Junior Women's Club has agreed to host a 4th of July concert directly following the 4th of July parade at Fishel Park. So with some planning with some community partners, downtown management, Linda Kunze's here, and people from the village and people from the Park District, we've all worked together to make that happen. And it's going to be a free concert, so after the parade you can go with your families and bring your picnic baskets and enjoy a concert in the park. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Waldeck.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks to you, I just added another item to the report. I want to thank you for your work on everybody's work, but especially your efforts on the ComEd. Now, if you can possibly work on some phone companies, it took longer to get a human voice from the phone company than it did to cook slow ribs. I'm not exaggerating. But along that vein, FYI, staff and council and the mayor got emails from a business owner on 75th Street. We got this new system on Google Apps and Google Mail, and I responded to the email as reply all with only showing the village manager, myself, the mayor, the resident, and Nan on the list of on the two list. However, it inadvertently went to all the council members. I don't know how that happened because it just said mayor. It was
impeachment.
That was an accidental violation of the Open Meetings Act. And I don't know if there is such a thing as an accidental violation of the Open Meetings Act, but if there is and somebody wants to see it, you can pull the email. We can publish my response. It's openly available. It's a new system. It was a mistake, mea culpa. Just for the record, I'll read what I said. It says, Dave, I appreciate the concern presented and the following with the county. It is a large project and there are situations and angst, but some of it is unacceptable. As you forward these concerns and others, you may have been made aware of, as you forward these concerns and others, as you may have been made aware of, please add that a number of residents were without phone service for a week or more when the contractor cut a cable. Thank you, Bill. So that should relieve the open meeting act problem, I think. Thank you.
Well, I'm afraid I have no choice, but pursuant to Council Rule 3.6B2, I'm going to ask for a motion to publicly cane Commissioner Walton. Violation. Just kidding. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Schnell.
Just a comment, Commissioner Neustadt and I were at Dan Cermak's party, and we did read a proclamation from the mayor congratulating him on his years of service, and we talked a little bit about the cooperation between the village and the Park District and some of the projects that we're able to do together for the betterment of our village.
Thank you. Commissioner Durkin, I understand that you not only have a report out, but a report.
Yeah, I actually do, believe it or not.
One of your trips to Springfield.
Yeah, I wasn't here at the last meeting, May 15th, when we had the 4-hour meeting regarding Walgreens, so I apologize for not being here. I was actually out in Springfield representing our village down there. The DuPage Mayors and Managers, as many of you know, we are active members of that organization, and they had a Springfield drive down back in May 15th and 16th. And I just want to highlight a couple of the things and then talk a little bit about House Bill 3637. And I want to thank a couple of people that quickly gathered information for me to represent for us, or to represent in our favor, or against the House bill. But when we were down there on Tuesday, we actually had an opportunity to meet with Leader Christine Radonio. Again, a lot of it had to do with the House Bill 3637. But we actually had time to talk to her about other issues that were going on. Some of the highlights that were discussed was the partnership with our village and the village of Westmont regarding our police dispatch center and areas that we could, as a community and as a county, look for other areas to combine services to save costs, especially since we all seem to hit up the same person, the taxpayer. We also had opportunities on Wednesday morning to meet with Senate President Pro Tempore Dan Harmon. Again, we talked about the House bill. We talked about what we had done, and in that meeting with me was Mayor of Addison, Larry Hardwick, along with Mayor of Roselle, Gail Smolinski, and myself. So it was a good meeting. I commend the DuPage Mayors and Managers for the scheduling of the meetings where we're getting in front of the Chicago Democrats. We're getting in front of people that really aren't people that have an impact, well, they have a huge impact on their votes with the village and the residents of Downers Grove or the county as a whole, but don't really know our issues and how they pertain to us. And then there was some other lobbying that went on with various elected officials while we were down there. But what was more important than talking to everyone was really being able to represent the village at the House Executive Committee meeting on Wednesday afternoon. This was in reference to opposing the amendments to House Bill 3637. All three of the amendments shifted the tax burden on the local taxpayers without offering any means to replace the lost revenue. Amendments 2 and 3 specifically put the burden for teachers' pensions on municipal taxpayers and municipal budgets. What this means for the village of Downers Grove was approximately $2.5 million. It was a $500,000 loss to the village of Downers Grove. Our library alone would lose $55,000. And I want to thank them, the executive director there, for reaching out to me, sending me the email telling me what this $55,000 really related to. And it really was books at the end of the day. The school districts combined was $1.6 million. Our sanitary district, which isn't part of the village, but a taxing body within the village, was $75,000. The township was $59,000. And our park district alone was $153,000. The unfortunate part, because this room was packed and everybody that was there, all the media that was there was 2579, and every other media or TV channel that felt a need to broadcast this was there, they decided that they were not going to call the bill. As we all know, the end result, there was no pension reform discussed at all. But it was unfortunate because there were a lot of people there to present. Part of those that were going to present with me was the mayor of Springfield, Danville, Quincy, and Peoria. So the five of us were going to sit and discuss this impact, how this House bill would have, the impact it would have on all of us. So it's kind of a misfortune that they didn't call it, but we'll see what they do in the fall if they do anything. So I want to thank all the the school and village staff and DuPage mayors and managers for getting the information to me, because I had no idea when I was down there Tuesday night that Wednesday morning I'd actually be asked to present or oppose a bill in front of many faces that I've never seen in my life. And let me tell you, it is kind of intimidating because they all stare at you and you know that they're not in favor of what you have to say, just like some of the residents here and non-residents for the Walgreens. But, you know, again, you know, we as a council, we as a community have listened to everyone. And I think at the end of the day, I think we did a pretty good job. There's always room for improvement, and that's what makes our community so great. And but I just want to thank those that were able to get that information to me quickly. You may think that $2.5 million isn't a lot of money to our village, but if you look at the impact that this proposed bill had on Valley View School District 365, which is the Bolingbrook High School District, the impact of this bill was $10.8 million to that particular school district. So just think about if District 99's impact was $10 million. Where are they going to get that money? So, I mean, there's some sizable dollars that we're talking about here. And last but not least, again, it seems like this is a report out for DuPage mayors and managers. I did attend the Mayors and Managers Annual Dinner, and this time it was the 50th anniversary gala. And there were a couple things that were highlighted in the dinner that I wanted to at least bring to the attention of our residents and staff along with council. They actually recognized our former mayor, Betty Cheever, who was the past president from 1987 and 1988. And they highlighted in their program the welcoming back of Village of Downers Grove, bringing the conference membership to 33 municipalities. So that's my report. I do have documents. If I need to submit them to April for the record, I will do so. But I did forget, I was going to wear this. I actually was given this pin to wear around Springfield that I was hoping to get in front of everybody. And pretty much it was, again, against House Bill 3637, which pretty much states this pin that Downers Grove is 47,833 voices. And the county itself is 1 million people strong. So I appreciate the time and the opportunity to represent us.
Thank you very much for the report, Commissioner, and thank you for representing the village so capably down in Springfield, and also thank you for attending the DuPage Mayors and Managers event. I think we've been doing a pretty good job of attending things. My thanks to Commissioner Schnell and Commissioner Neustadt, Commissioner Rankin for attending the events, honoring both the incoming and outgoing director of our park district here in town. So thank you for doing that. Speaking of DuPage Mayors and Managers, one thing I also wanted to report out on is that since none of us have anything else to do and have lots of free time, I'm glad to report that the Intergovernmental Planning Committee for 2012-2013 at DuPage Mayors and Managers, through some colossal lapse of judgment on their behalf, they've decided to make me the director of that committee. I will be serving along with Manager Fieldman on that committee, and I know that Commissioner Rankin and Neustadt will also be participating on that committee. And going back to Commissioner Barnett's point about the importance of cooperation, communication, and collaboration amongst intergovernmental units, that is going to be one of the driving forces and one of the focuses of that committee, at least if I have anything to say about it, because there are many opportunities to combine with other taxing bodies for the mutual benefit of our shared constituents. So we'll be looking forward to that, and I'm counting on Manager Fieldman to keep me out of too much trouble. We'll try. Second of all, speaking of parades, I think it's terrific that we're changing it up, because at the Memorial Day service, someone came up to me afterwards and said, you know, you guys really ought to think about switching the route of the parade and bring all those people down into the downtown where they can shop and buy things. And then it looked like I was a genius, because days later it was announced that's what was happening.
Did you tell them it was all their
I said it was all your idea. I gave you all the credit. But one thing we might want to consider for the parade is I just want to take a moment and congratulate the Downers Grove South girls soccer team for achieving 3rd in state over the weekend. It was really a phenomenal team effort, and we might want to consider inviting them to participate in our parade. Even though it's going to start at Downers Grove North, it will end in the center of town, so I don't think they'll mind too much. But in particular, I was able to attend the trophy ceremony on Sunday, and want to congratulate Coach Barry Jacobson on his 29 years with that program, and assistant coach Bob Toper, 22 years with that program. Both of them will be retiring after the season, and what a season it has, what a career it has been 7 trips to the state finals by the Downers Grove South girls soccer team, and 5 trophies at state. So it was really a terrific way for Coach Jacobson and Coach Topper to wrap up their tremendous careers on a fantastic program at Downers Grove South. So I think I was certain to share on behalf of ourselves and the community how proud everyone is of their accomplishments. Some terrific young ladies over at South. A lot of them will be going on to play at the college level, so I think that's pretty neat. We cannot adjourn tonight. We do have to go into closed session, but before we do that, there's just one last thing I have to say, and that is, it is really nice outside, and one starts thinking about, I don't know, Summer Street Festival, so it would be irresponsible of me not to point out that there are exactly 15 days, 3 hours, 59 minutes, and 20 seconds until Rotary Grove Fest here in Downers Grove. So get ready for Downers Grove's largest block party. It should be a fun summertime with your friends and neighbors. And as I mentioned, we do have executive session tonight, so we cannot adjourn at this point in time. May I have a motion to go into closed session?
Mayor Tully, I move to convene into closed session pursuant to Section 2C2 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act to consider collective negotiating matters between the village and its employees or their representatives.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Schnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Durkin?
Aye.
Commissioner Rankin?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Commissioner Newstead?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. We are adjourned into closed session. Thank you and good night.